Hello everybody and welcome back to another edition of Ukraine This Week with me, Don Arleth. After another brutal Russian attack on Ukraine's capital of Kyiv on Thursday morning, Ukraine's parliament voted to restore the independence of the anti-corruption bodies after protests across Ukraine against Zelensky's original decision. Hopefully Ukraine will return to its EU track as EU officials had froze $1.7 billion in aid due to concerns over the earlier legislation. Meanwhile, Ukraine is facing huge financial challenges as government spends most state revenues on the defense of the country. But before we bring in our guest, let's go ahead and watch this report from Ukraine over the past week.
US President Donald Trump has significantly cut his deadline for Moscow to agree peace terms with Kyiv. Russia now has until around August 9th to reach a ceasefire deal, instead of the previous 50 days, which would have expired in early September.
Yeah, I'd say 10 to 12 days. I'll announce it probably tonight or tomorrow. But there's no reason to wait. If you know what the answer is going to be, why wait? And it would be sanctions and maybe tariffs, secondary tariffs. You know what a secondary tariff is.
Trump was speaking during a meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Scotland. The move underscores Trump's apparent frustration at President Putin's escalation of air attacks on Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy welcomed the new deadline.
There's an extremely important statement from President Trump, and it is true. It is Russia that's doing everything to disrupt peace efforts and prolong this war.
Ukraine observed a day of mourning on Friday after one of Moscow's deadliest attacks on Kyiv since the start of the full-scale war. At least 28 people, including 3 children, were killed in Thursday's bombardment, and 150 were wounded. US President Donald Trump led global condemnation of the strikes.
Russia? I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting.
A day earlier, a Russian strike on a food warehouse near Kharkiv killed 1 person and wounded 4 others, according to the regional governor. And a missile strike on the city of Kamyansk in eastern Ukraine claimed 3 lives, including a pregnant woman. The northeastern Sumy region, which borders Russia, also suffered aerial attacks. Officials said a new weapon was also deployed by Moscow, rocket-powered Shahed drones that can fly at over 500 kilometers an hour. President Zelenskyy said Russia had used more than 3,800 drones and nearly 260 missiles for its attacks on Ukraine during July. President Zelenskyy said governments must listen to public opinion after street protests and an international backlash prompted him to make a U-turn on controversial changes to 2 anti-corruption agencies. On Thursday, Ukrainian members of parliament voted in favor of a new bill that restores the independence of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. Zelenskyy soon after signed off on the bill, meaning that it will now become law. He highlighted how the events of the past fortnight showed that there was no doubt that Ukraine was a democracy. Rare wartime protests against the government erupted earlier this month after a raft of changes to Ukraine's anti-corruption system was swiftly passed by parliament. The move followed raids on anti-corruption officers and curtailed the independence of the anti-corruption bodies. 2 former oligarch owners of Ukraine's largest bank, Privatbank, have been ordered to pay the lender nearly $2 billion. Ihor Kolomoisky, seen here in a blue jacket, and Gennady Bogolyubov were found by London's High Court to have misappropriated the funds via a complex lending scheme. When the bank was nationalised in 2016, accountants discovered a $5.5 billion hole in its balance sheet linked to a series of bogus loans. The ruling brings to an end an 8-year legal battle to recover the missing funds. Kolomoisky was detained in Ukraine 2 years ago and is now awaiting trial on fraud and money laundering charges. but Golubyov illegally left the country in June last year. Both deny any wrongdoing.
And joining us now is our guest, Yaroslav Yurchyshyn, chair of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Committee on Freedom of Speech and member of the Ukrainian Parliament from the Holos party. Hello, Yaroslav, and thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
A pleasure.
Now, to start off, you've been working in anti-corruption for more than a decade. Many say that Ukraine is a corrupt country. Could you tell us your experience and how the situation has changed from, like, let's say, over the last decade, from the time of Yanukovych through Poroshenko and up to Zelenskyy?
Really, Ukraine created one of the most effective anti-corruption infrastructure, and now we don't have untouchable people, which it's like characteristic of any post-Soviet country. Then people in government, people who are very close to president or totalitarian regime leaders as Lukashenko or Putin in Russia, they are not, so law enforcement agency don't have access and can investigate anything which have connection with these people. Only one way to be under investigation, then you become opposition leaders or opposition businessmen to regime. In Ukraine, we create a system with help of our international partners, using experience of Poland, of Czech Republic, of Romania, so country which become a member of European Union early when we will be. So and now NABU, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, and Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office investigate anyone who creates crime in the sphere of top corruption. And now we have accused and punished with confiscation, for example, Deputy Minister of Occupied Territory in Poroshenko time, Yuri Grimchak, or judges, or many of prosecutors, or ex-member of parliament who control all forest industry in Western Ukraine, Orest Furdichko. Maybe for our partners it's not so well-known name, but it's high-level officials, and even image that in Yanukovych time what it can happen, it was impossible because all governors was untouchable for any law enforcement institution. Now in Zelenskyy time, NABU and SAP have so high influence and effectiveness that they start investigate corruption scheme which have connection with close affiliators of Andriy Yermak, the head of Office of President, the second maybe more influenced politician in our country, for example, ex-minister for national unity Chernyshov, or business partner of Yermak Mindich, or ex-deputy head of Office of President Shurma. And in reality now we on a stage then corruption still exists, but we actively fighting with this problem. And if we don't have war, if we don't have our more higher challenges, I do believe that we will even more effectively fight with corruption. Corruption Perception Index of Transparency International show that all time after Revolution of Dignity, we growing up with some slowdown in some period, for example, the end of Poroshenko term, but still the years and years we slowly come upper. And if this trend will still there, and I do believe that it will be, because last week you see that our society come on streets to save our anti-corruption reform. Due to that, in the future, we will have even more prominent result.
Now, if you could, your own opinion on why do you think Zelensky's party had pushed this through? Why did it go through at lightning speed? Is it really because the NABU is so interested in so many of the different members of parliament and ministers within Zelensky's faction?
Yes, I think that it was the main cause because so Zelensky have some temptation due to we country in war. So our international partners, first of all, our Western alliance, understand that maybe some reforms couldn't move so quickly because we have this duty to save Western democracy as a frontline country of democracy, fighting with Russia totalitarian regime. And society have high-level trust to our government. Why? Because this government help us to fight in this war. But it was still government not like have strange priority, not to fight with corruption, but try to find some solution how to not let NABU and SAPO to investigate whom in presidential team who have connection with some corruption still. And when society sees this problem, they do understand that we must react. And even martial law time, even under Russia missiles attack, under Shaheds, drones and rockets, people come out on the street, but peacefully, without any broken windows, without any fired cars. In the center of Kiev, in quite rich district, we see a younger generation of Ukraine who live only in time of war, because majority of these students was born maybe near the time of revolution and dignity, and they see Crimea only occupied. They don't remember Crimea in freedom in Ukraine. So we see that reaction of government was very, very quick. Till through the one day, president changed position. Previously said, yes, we have some problem with NABU, with so-called Russia influence and so on. Next day, okay, guys, we understand. Society want to save independency of NABU and SAPO. Our international partners, first of all, European countries stress, but not only US senators stress that we do need anti-corruption independence for independence and effective infrastructure, and government stopped. So directly our reaction as we have in Yanukovych time, because in Yanukovych time, police named militia into that period attacking who come on a protest. Now police help to protesters to give water, to show way where less people to come, and so it's totally change perception and totally change reaction of government on request of society, and that shows that democracy in Ukraine in martial law time not only acting but developed.
Exactly, and that civil society is developing, and Ukrainians, well, they know what they want. Now, do you think that President Zelensky went back on this bill and introduced, the new legislation to withdraw the changes? Do you think that was largely a result of the backlash on the streets, seeing all the people out there protesting, or perhaps the anger of many European Union officials, European leaders, saying that this is totally unacceptable? Or do you think it's a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, and I do thanks for our European and international colleagues who was very understandable without any diplomacy, because in this situation we need a quick reaction. So we work with Ukraine because Ukraine is democracy. We work with Ukraine because Ukraine want to win in fighting not only with Russia, but with fighting with post-Soviet level of corruption, what you still fighting with. But when we're talking honest, when we analyzed honestly, reaction of president starting in period, then our European and international partners only like analyze situation. So the main influence is really people on the street, as in any democracy. But the position, the strong position of our international partners was like additional and very crucial consequences. And really, I think that last steps was done after reaction of our international partners. And speed of like adopting, it's really depends of strong position of our international partners. So reaction was on a position of society, but speed of this reaction due to a reaction of our international partners.
Now, concerning the Ministry of Defense, there's been a lot of allegations of corruption within that ministry. I mean, obviously, it's very difficult with the full-scale invasion going on and that ministry, excuse me, working double time to have to defend the country. Yet there are scandals of corruption. There's a lot of money moving through this, a lot of weapons, equipment. So do you see that there are some major problems in the Ministry of Defense that have yet to be addressed, or potentially we will see more information about this in the future?
It's a strange, but reality that in Ukraine, that war period even helped to made sphere of national security and defense more open and accountable, because after first information about schemes on supplying foods for our soldiers, all procedure was changed totally. It's become more accountable. We began to publish all contracts after that science to analyze even for independent investigative journalists. Due to that, situation become better than we have before the full-scale aggression. But still we have a lot of not only corruption, but problem with management. Due to that was created two agencies for supplying goods and foods and weapon. And in sphere for supplying of weapon, we on 100% sure that Western weapon double-checked, and any manipulation with this help are impossible in our period. But our supplying foods, buying weapon, Ukrainian weapons, and so on, yes, we have some problem. But now we have a change of our cabinet of ministries, and previous prime minister become a minister of defense. So it's like a downshifting, come down. Why? Because really we have a lot of problems there. So I hope that new management help to show, first of all, for society, but and for our international partners, that in sphere of security and defense, we can use NATO procedures. Due to that, possibility to corruption now minimized till zero. Yes, we have still a lot of work in this sphere. Why? Because majority of our sources now in the sphere of national security and defense, Ministry of Defense, one of the biggest manager of budgeting in Ukraine now. So we do understand that a lot of problem can be here. there, but we try to do the best and change to give more strong team for Ministry for Defense to show that we try to solve this problem, and we will do that.
Yeah, Yaroslav, you're from the Holos party. Do you think Denis Shmyhal is the right guy for the job in the Ministry of Defense?
I could say that no one perfect for this job, because it's electric chair for anyone due to situation in wartime, due to challenges what anyone will have there. But experience of on a position of prime minister, the longest term of prime minister in history of Ukraine, gives some small hope that yes, he ready for this position. And as I see, he now invites to his team not people with whom he work as a prime minister, but for example, deputy head from Ministry of Strategic Industry or digitalization. So he tried to find to give a new blood into vein of this really second maybe and first ministry. So it's like a small cabinet of minister in reality now, due to all challenges that this Ministry of Defense have in Ukraine. So I may be slightly critical, because I don't see necessary level of self-representative and independency from the side of Denis Shmyhal when he was prime minister. He 100% member of Zelenskyy team, but still his experience are crucial for this sphere, and I hope it helped him to be more effective as his predecessor.
Sure. Now, moving on, why has the Ukrainian government failed again to appoint the selected head of the Bureau of Economic Security?
I think it's because a guy who wins the competition from NABU, so he will be uncontrolled, independent, and we create similar procedure for Bureau of Economic Security, State Bureau of Economic Security, as we create previously for NABU. But I today read a position of our Prime Minister, Yulia Sviridenko. She said that he have communication with candidate, and next weeks possibly he will be appointed after some technical procedure.
Okay, now moving on, we're looking at a huge financing gap next year for the Ukrainian government. There's I think it's what, 65 billion is what is needed, and only a third of Ukraine only has about a third of what's been pledged, and this problem will persist in 26 and 27. So why do you think it is that necessarily there's such a huge shortfall? Do you think that is attributed to the drying up of United States funds? Are the Europeans not maybe doing as much as they say that they're going to do? And how big of a problem is this going to be if the funds aren't allocated?
It will be a huge problem because what Ukraine economy give us as sources directly coming on front line to our soldiers, to our military, to military equipment, to buying weapon, and we do need these partners, partnership in this sphere. And yes, like situation with new administration in US, Trump traditionally more looking internally than externally. It's like the next period of guys who do believe in that isolation it's better for USA than to act more globally. But we hope that we will find some solution in more active collaboration with a European country, with Nordic country, with Great Britain, with Japan, with Canada, in different sphere. And we do understand that for this collaboration, first of all, in financing our needs, we must show that we part of European civilization, Western civilization, and our democracy are not only living but developed. Due to that, we actively communicate with our colleagues, and thanks for that partnership, Donald Tusk and Polish government, because even we have some discussion about our history, yes, we still working together for our future.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I'd like to ask you now one question about a potential ceasefire. They said that maybe there would be elections if we could get peace with Russia, even if it's temporary. Are you confident that elections won't happen until there is a ceasefire? Is it even contemplatable that there would be elections under any circumstances other than a ceasefire? And if so, when would you expect elections to happen?
We expect that after ceasefire, better end of war, election happen not less than half a year after. Why? Because we do need a time to prepare election, and first of all, we must guarantee safety for who coming us from our partners to see that election will be democratic, competitive, and open. Yes, because we do understand when OSCE, our international organization who controlling the process of election, their regulation even not let them come to country in time of war because of security regulation. And we have experience in 2014 to have election on Donbas region, which are now occupied, but in 2014 was occupied only partially. It's very dangerous, and people not come to election station. So we could say that this election will be free and democratic if it will be not representative. People come on election only when we give some percentage of guarantee of security for this election. But we are democracy, and we do believe in changing of government, changing of politics. We change our presidents 5 times or even more time in period when Putin is still self-appointed as president of Russia. It's a different from Ukraine from Russia. Due to that, we will have election as quick as we can to have election.
All right, and now finally, my final question here before we run out of time is the Trump and Putin factor. Vladimir Putin met with Belarusian president just recently, saying that he is interested in peace, but only under certain very strict conditions that we've heard for a long time now. One of those is relinquishing all the occupied territories, even giving up the city of Zaporizhzhia or Kherson, which isn't even controlled by the Russians. And then we have Donald Trump, on the other hand, threatening, I think we have, what, about 8 days or 9 days left before this ultimatum to put secondary sanctions on India, on China, on anybody that buys Russian oil. So I guess the grand question here, I know the answer to the first question about the occupied territories, but are you hopeful that Donald Trump will indeed put these sanctions on, as promised, in just a few days' time if Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire?
Yes, we hope that Trump will stay on message and acting. And we see that situation are changing because we see agreement between US and EU. And we see that mistake that Trump's and his administration done previously to try to involve Russia in peacemaking process without punishing for war crimes which was committed in Ukraine by Russia, Putin showed that Westerns, Trumps are weak, so can be manipulated, can be, so Putin tried to promise something but do nothing. And then Trump said some strong message. Putin only began to higher pressure on Ukraine and show that he don't care what Trump said. If Trump not act, it will show a weakness. Russia believe only in strength, only in force. So I hope, yes, that Trump, and not only Ukrainians, I hope that Trump enforced his word and not waiting even 8 days. He can start even earlier because Putin tried to show that Trump weak. And it's very dangerous for Trump's position in the U.S. society.
Well, Yaroslav, I hope it's time for Trump to take out the stick. Yaroslav Yurchyshyn, Chair, Ukrainian Parliamentary Committee of the Freedom of Speech, and of course a deputy there from the Holos party. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight on this edition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes this edition of Ukraine This Week. Join us again next week for all the latest developments from the war in Ukraine. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.